8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
For someone that has known a man like Elvis Presley as many years and in the capacity that you did, I know it's difficult when someone says, tell me about Elvis Presley. Tell me how you feel, your impressions of him as you look back over those years. But yet I imagine there's certain things that do come to the surface when someone asks you about Elvis.
He's my friend.
Do you still feel that way?
Oh, yeah, I know so.
When did you first meet Elvis?
He was 14, and if I told you how old I was then, you know how old I was now. But he was 14 years old, and used to come hear us sing. I didn't even know his name back then, till he made it, and then I learned that he was Elvis. He was that kid until then.
When did you first realize there was something special about him?
Well, not until he made it. Up until that time, he just asked a lot of questions. How you do this, how you do that. And about the next thing I knew, well, he'd already made it because I was busy myself with my career. And he'd already made it. And he told me he made $4 million the first year, and every year it got worse. So he was pretty busy, too.
If someone asked you why Elvis Presley, what was the charisma, what was the power and that force that he exerted over audiences, how would you define it?
Well, Elvis had charisma, the greatest charisma that anybody I've ever been around. If he was here now, walking this room back of us, you could feel it. Charisma is Christ within. There's a third person. If it was you, him, and me, then there'd be 4 people here, because somebody goes with him. That's what charisma is. And Elvis had more than anybody I ever knew. If I knew and could have it, then I'd do the same thing.
We'd have more Elvises, definitely. When you think of Elvis, do you think of a man that was funny, quiet, intelligent, sensitive? How would you describe him?
Very timid, very backward, always trying to please, never being rude, kindest, most gentle person that I ever knew, until he found out that he couldn't please you. And he was the most ungentle person I ever knew. But he done everything he could to make everybody around him happy.
How did you see him change over the years?
Well, he began to get more mellow, a lot more mellow. I think anybody does with age. Age does a lot of things to people, but Elvis, he never did realize what he was, but he began to appreciate more of what he was. He said to me that you can't see the outside of the house from within. And he never knew. He knew that he was popular, but he never had any idea of his popularity.
Do you think he was a happy person?
Yeah, if he wasn't, you can't get happy. I was never around a happier person. Because he got up happy and went to bed happy. He was happy. He had fun with a double F. You know, nothing wasn't fun to him.
Later on, when the dark side came through, people around him, and supposedly, you know, he began to get into things that he shouldn't have. Did you see him change then, or was he still underneath the same person?
Well, when you say begin into things that he shouldn't, he didn't get into the things that they said he got into. Elvis wasn't a dope addict. Elvis took uppers and sleeping pills. And he didn't take cocaine. He would fire you if you smoked marijuana. And he didn't drink. So what they say about Elvis and the real Elvis is 2 different things. Elvis was on medication. He was not a dope addict. He wasn't a drug addict. He did take uppers. He did take sleeping pills. If he abused anything, it was sleeping pills because he had trouble sleeping. Kept trying to count his money. Couldn't go to sleep.
Better than sheep. How did you feel when you first heard that Elvis had died?
I didn't believe it. I was on his plane, picked to leave for a date. And I thought that, well, this is something they're saying. I thought his daddy had died. His daddy was very sick. I didn't realize until I got to Memphis and saw the body of Elvis and talked with his dad. And Dad told me that he wanted me to be in charge of his funeral because he knew that I knew Elvis likes better than he did. So I didn't really believe it until I got to Memphis. I thought it was a colonel's publicity deal because he was a nut for crazy publicity. I didn't believe it.
Was there time then for you for tears?
Beg pardon?
Was there a time then for you while you were putting the funeral together for tears, to cry, to be sad? Or did that come later?
Oh, they still come.
You seem as if you miss him very much.
Yeah.
Do you think we'll ever see another man to live to that standard?
Beg pardon?
Do you think we'll ever see another man that will live to that standard?
No, I don't think so. How many people you know by their first name? Not Frank Sinatra. You can say Frank, Hitler, Elvis, Stalin, very few people. Jesus. They only come along very, very seldom.
What does his loss mean to you personally?
The loss to me personally, a real friend. When you lose a friend, it's pretty sad.
Thank you.
Thank you. My God, if he comes to my funeral, you know, and not that I would have cared, because I would do him the same way I knew Elvis, but I just would imagine what it would do to my family. He'd say, I wonder if the old so-and-so wants to smoke now. Take him a cigarette and see if he'll smoke it. I mean, you know, he just done it to keep him crying. Sure. There's people like that. But I never, if I had known that he was going to die, it'd been a lot different, you know, because I was with him till the end. And, well, that's what I'll say. I mean, people didn't know Elvis, and they're speaking for Elvis, and it makes me mad, you know, to hear people make statements when they just didn't know from 1969 until he passed away. Well, the people that are speaking for him now didn't know him. They wasn't around him. They never seen him. So it makes you pretty mad, you know.
Get your mic. I want you guys.
Oh yeah, I was going to carry the mic with me.
Somebody.